how you release the golf club with your irons and your driver will determine ultimately how accurate you are, but more importantly, how far you actually hit the shot. What I'm seeing day in, day out in lesson tee are players trying to hold lag, trying to get compression with their irons, trying to keep that shaft leaning forward. And they're doing a lot of things that are trying to add natural control to the golf club, but they rob themselves of so much effortless power. In this video, what I want to do is I want to show you really simply how to release this golf club in such a way that does obviously one thing, keeps you on the straight and narrow, but how it generates, I want you to basically generate some effortless club head speed here. So like the pros do, we can create this whoosh through impact without losing control. It's super, super important to understand. Before I do though, look, if you're new to the channel, it's one of your first lessons of mine, please consider subscribing. I release videos like this one every single week to try and help you improve your game, plus you never have to remember a thing. Everything I do here, I'll put into a free downloadable practice guide in the description box below. So I think you're gonna love the feeling this gives your golf swing. It's gonna certainly help you hit it a little bit further, but more important, it's gonna feel easier to do so. We're going to start by showing you how the arms work to fully release this golf club, both your right arm and your left arm. Then what I'm going to do is once we've generated some effortless speed, I'm going to show you how you control that speed with one simple body drill, and then just a little tip at the end, how you glue all this together and take it to the golf course. So first of all, we want a free-flowing golf swing, right? How do we create it? How do the arms work to do that? They do not steer the ball. They do not try to hold angles. We do not ever try and hold the angle and try and compress it. We always want to be releasing this golf club completely fully to maximize your potential distance, no matter what age you are. So here's how you do it. The first feeling. My favorite exercise, I would say. Grab your lead tricep, pin it to your side for a second, right? What I'm going to do, this just locks the elbow in place. Now all I want you to do is allow the club just to swing. Now as I'm doing this, notice how my arm moves around the joint of my elbow, and it simply just works upwards. I aren't pulling it around, I'm not moving my arm, not allowing my arm just to swing like this. I'm letting it move around the joint. And because it moves around the joint, that's all my arm can do. It simply just works up, and then look from here, releases back down again. Up, down. Notice how my arm naturally turns to the left and turns up to the sky to the right. Simple as that. So get that sensation. When people do this for the first time, they allow this arm to do this because they're not used to pivoting around this joint. They try to move their arm. No, it works up and naturally releases down. No control whatsoever, please, right? This is why I often say to my students, they'll go like this and then they won't let it go. Just let it free fall. This is one of the big secrets to, I suppose, consistency, right? So once you've got that sensation, the arm goes up and falls down, simply reverse that with your lead arm. Lock it in, same principle here, look. I'm simply going to swing backwards in a free flow motion, and notice on the way through, I aren't doing this, I'm not guiding it, I'm not steering it. I am allowing the arm to simply pivot around the elbow. And you'll notice it simply works upwards like this, right? And notice it's just freely flowing. So that you can see the back, the top of my palm faces the sky here, and as I flow, in a sense, kind of let it flow, it almost feels like it's pointing downwards to a certain degree, right? But I'm just freely flowing this golf club. This is how your lead arm and your trail arm work to freely flow the golf club. But if I just did this in a swing without using my body, we would have a flick and a very poor strike. So we've got to, how do we naturally get into a beautiful, powerful position while we are consistently flowing like this? Look at this here with the right hand. Up. If I don't move my body correctly, I'm just a beautiful release of the golf club, but it's happened in the wrong place. I need to move my body so that when it does happen, I am creating the right compression and strike on the golf ball. But that is step number one. So step two is how we start to learn to control the club. You might feel as you're doing this, it feels completely out of control. Good. That is what you should feel like. It should feel like it's free and flowing. And you might even feel a bit nervous that, how am I going to hit the golf ball from here? Just go with it. We want a free-flowing club. let's organize the body now. So I've just got a stick holder here. Now this is super important. So this is the number one thing I see with amateur golfers who tend to slice the golf ball or struggle with distance. What happens now is this. They move this club now, after swinging it freely. Now what happens is this. They start to, from here, spin their backside or the pelvis backwards. Well, if I do that and I release the club, I'm obviously going to release it, look, early. And now I'm going to get into this what we call flip or flick territory into kind of slice territory because I'm falling backwards, right? So, but if we were able to keep the pelvis staying forwards as I do this, notice the difference. I'm releasing the club, it goes through to a beautiful impact position and of course then releases beautifully through. But if I fall backwards, which is what I see with a lot of players, you'll see this heel start to drift back. And yes, I'm free releasing, but suddenly the ball goes left with a big pull. So then they go, don't like that. So then they start to steer it, chicken wing comes out to kind of hold the face and just to try and get it into the fairway. So what they do is start to manipulate it and they think it's lack of control here when it's just an incorrect use of the body. So you've got a stick holder to give yourself feedback, right? So what we actually want to have happen here is one, the pelvis stays ahead of the stick on the way down so we can completely freely flow this club. But this is one of my all-time favorites. Awful name, it's called a shin breaker. Full disclaimer, I have no responsibility for breaking shins. But no, it won't break your shin. But basically, you put your foot inside the basket here. And the idea here is you've got this free flowing motion of the golf club. But what I like about it, it's like a little constraint, something that's just, it's going to give you, catch your attention. Most people, like I say, they do this. They move too much this way into the golf ball. That spins them out, and if you have a free-flowing release, of course, you're going to release it too early, and you're going to flick it left, and then suddenly you're going to have to kind of chicken wing it out to hit some straight shots. What this does naturally, look, is as opposed to this, it helps me keep the pelvis naturally forward so that when I come into the golf ball and I'm fully releasing, look, I get the shaft lean that I want without trying, yet I've got a full release of this club, all right? So it looks something like this. Get ourselves set. Here we go. And you can see here, look, my leg look is kind of like banked inwards, and that allows that pelvis to stay forward and fully release the club, right? Helps you naturally create compression, and it's going to help you create that beautiful strike. So before we work on the thing that glues all of this together, what I want you to do is practice with it. You want to focus on your right arm or your left arm, really practicing what a free release of the golf club is, yeah? Then put the shin breaker in as such, right? Make sure as you're doing this, you can then get that sensation look of a free-flowing club. That's training my pelvis to work correctly. You could do the same with your lead arm. Get that sensation, hit a few shots. No attempt to try to control that club whatsoever. Now let's finish off with what very, very important point. How do you glue this together? So I think those first two steps are gonna give you this lovely natural motion. It's gonna feel great. The chances are now, if you keep working on those two steps, your strike's gonna improve, your distance is gonna improve, and your direction will start to get better and better. However, one thing that often gets in the way of this with some of my students, just some, is where this club face is in your control. You could be freely flowing this golf club through the shot, but how do you make sure that the club face isn't wide open when you're releasing in the club? How do you make sure it's not closed? How do we make sure that it stays reasonably straight as it's flowing through the shot? Well, you need to develop a sense of awareness, and that's not always easy. So what I do with my students, I use HackMotion, and I give them a sense of where that face is in time. It's not always easy to see. So all we do, we get themselves set up here. And once they're in this address position, I get them to swing to the top. And if that face is open, it's going to give a kind of a pretty not very nice sound. Then, now when the club's in a great place, it allows now the increased likelihood that when you beautifully freely release this club, it's going to be exactly where you need it to go. If the face is wide open in your golf swing and you try to release it, the chances are it's still going to be reasonably wide open when you actually go and hit that golf shot. So keeping this free-flowing motion, but developing awareness of where the club face is. No. There we go. I can now start to kind of trust that when I do release that golf club, it's going to be in the right place time and time again. It's super simple, but obviously when you get to the top of your backswing like this, I can't see that, right? So I need to be able to have some feedback as to where it is. HackMotion does that. So let's finish off with one shot, and while I do, just to let you know, HackMotion have kindly offered me a very large discount for any of my subscribers in the comments box below. So just check out the top comment and you will be able to be directed to one of the biggest discounts they have done to date. Pretty good. All right. So grab those first two steps, work on them. Let's together now start to build this beautiful, effortless motion where you feel free, it feels natural, right? And then obviously, you know, if it's still going a little bit awry, just check that club face. Maybe use a device like HackMotion to check where that face is. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up, maybe share it with one of your friends who you see looking a little bit wooden, a little bit controlled. Hopefully this will help them too. What I'd love you to do now is check this video out right here, which complements this absolutely beautifully. But until next week, have a wonderful golfing week.